I'm life and confidence coach Dianna Leeder, and this is my podcast, the Crave More Life Roadshow. It's here we talk about emotional hits and lovingly kicking our own asses to get through them. Just so you know, it always comes down to being your beautiful, sassy self, living and loving from you, no matter what. So join me to hear about the healing journeys of other women, and you just might become a DIY ass kicker too. Hey DIY ass kickers, this is the Crave More Life Roadshow podcast with guest Heidi Blair. Heidi Blair, CPCC, is a certified professional coactive coach. After 10 years of working with diverse clients to identify and reach their individual goals, Heidi realized that her passion sparks when she is helping women connect with their inner wisdom. In 2020, she aligned her practice to work with women to find their authentic, intuitive voice. Heidi wants you to know that whether your voice has been silenced or perhaps never been heard, if you want to take a deep look into your soul's desire for answers to life's big questions, she can help you. Heidi shares the writer Ayelet Waldman's portrayal of her anticipated disappearance on her upcoming 50th birthday. She said to an interviewer, "I have a big personality and I have a certain level of professional competence, and I'm used to being taken seriously professionally. And suddenly, it's like I just vanished from the room, and I have to yell so much louder to be seen. I just want to walk down the street and have someone notice that I exist." Heidi's response: "You do exist. How would you like to thrive?" You can find Heidi at HeidiBlairCoaching.com, at Facebook.com/HeidiBlairCoaching, and in her Facebook group for women looking to embrace life and celebrate getting older at Facebook.com/SavvySextyLiving. Hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up today. I'm Dianna Leeder, and I am the host of the Crave More Life Roadshow. I'm a confidence coach and intuitive life hack who helps women find their voices. I'm also the lead author of Find Your Voice, Save Your Life. Just a little heads up, if you're watching this live or watching the recording on Facebook, feel free to leave a comment in the bottom underneath the video. We're not going to be answering while we are on live because it will just be, it'll just take away from the conversation. And we're here to gab and talk about the book and talk about Heidi Blair. So we're not going to be checking the comments until after the recording is done. So this woman who is with me now is that beautiful Heidi Blair, and I'm so excited she's here with me. Heidi and I met in, I think it was 2014, if I'm recalling.
Yes.
Good. When we took an online class together, and you notice, like, when you just click with somebody, well, that's what it was like for me with Heidi. So much so that we met up in Chicago for a little wild, fun girls weekend. And we won't talk about that entire trip. Some things need to be just kept personal. But I know that just know that we had a lot of laughs. And we cemented our friendship, I think, by doing that. Yeah. And when Heidi agreed to be part of Find Your Voice, Save Your Life, I was thrilled. So Heidi has such a deep understanding of the impact on women when they have their voices quieted or silenced, and not just from her own experience that we're going to hear about anyway when she talks about her chapter, but just, worldwide. She's a feminist, she gets it, and she's great to talk to about all this stuff. And here's the cool part, is that she's not afraid to use her voice and to stand up for either herself or any other woman that's being treated as less than. So I appreciate that about her very much. Her chapter in our book, Listen to the Whispers, is Heidi's personal experience with losing and finding her voice. So let's dig in with Ms. Heidi Blair.
Thank you, Dianna. It's so great to be here. You're so amazing to have put this project together and given voice to 24 women who stories I know touched and perhaps changed the lives of other women out there in the world. And I know it's your mission, it's your life purpose, and thank you for the creation of it.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yep, it definitely is my mission and my purpose. Absolutely, feels good.
Mm,
And and I'm so honored to have you and all the other women that showed up for it. Yeah, it's a party when everybody shows up, right?
it sure is.
Especially when they wear pearls.
RBG baby, where those pearls.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Heidi, let's talk about your chapter. Let's just dive right in, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us, what made you write that particular piece.
So my story is an interesting one. As a young girl, I was very precocious and outspoken from probably when I could speak. But my uh, late, or I should say, earliest memory of using my voice was when I was a 4-year-old. And this is a funny family anecdotal story, and I'll just tell it real quick. I was in the back seat of the car with my older sister and my mom, and my grandfather was driving. My grandmother was in the front, and I said something, I don't know what, to my grandmother, and my grandfather pulled over the car and turned around and wagged his big long finger at me and said, "Don't you dare say that about your grandmother. Not only is she your grandmother, she's the woman I love." To which I replied, "You've got to be kidding me. I'm 4." So no problem, there, but life is life. And we as women, especially born in a certain generation, I'll out myself, I was born in 1959. And so, we were taught to be polite. We were taught to, uh, not be the biggest person in the room. We were
Mm,
taught to play it small, and that was, societally. That wasn't just that. My family wasn't quite that way. My mother was a feminist, so I had that going for me. But anyway, I started my people pleasing in grade school. I couldn't wait for school to begin. I couldn't wait to sit in the front of the class. I couldn't wait to raise my hand, be smart, and answer questions. And we all know boys get called on twice as often as girls. And but I made it a point. I was the waving and begging to be called on. But I loved school, and that's where I found a lot of my courage, because I was bright, and I loved being that. And I came from a family of all sisters and beauties, and I growing up, never quite felt like I was of their caliber. And so I thought to myself, and I was really young, well, I'm smart, so I kind of went with that. And life rolled on, and people pleasing teachers was my way of getting praise, seeking approval, feeling good enough. And then, that led to college and to my first few jobs. I have funny stories about that. I was fired from 3 jobs for the exact same reason: insubordination. Could not keep it zipped. But hell of that.
oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, 3
Yeah.
jobs.
Well, no, it's not that, well, not so much a number of jobs, but that, keep it zipped. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like that makes me want to throw up right there, just, right there in my mouth. Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. And, I mean, I know that the story, and I'm sorry, I'm going to stop interrupting you in a second, but I
No,
know that
please.
you're going to carry on with, how you managed all that. So I'm dying for everybody to hear that. But just that piece right there could be a deal breaker for women. One of those experiences, let alone 3, could have silenced her for a very long time, if not forever. Yeah. So
Yeah,
let's hear how you did it.
So okay, so then I landed a really big job. Um, and I was really good at that job. And during that tenure, I got pregnant. And I only told one person, another woman in the company. And I did not realize that that would be a huge mistake, but it was. And I was on a trip to New York City for a big sales meeting, and I'd flown in on the red eye, and I changed my clothes at the airport. I went straight to the offices at Park Avenue, up the elevator, and got summoned into my boss's office. And I was summarily demoted with absolutely no reference as to why. And we had 5 minutes until we had to be in the meeting. So all of a sudden, I'm head swirling, what the hell happened? And, I'm slaying it in my territory. It was crazy. So I, went into the meeting just sort of throbbing and not knowing what to do, what to say. And I just couldn't quite figure it out. I'll spare you the gory details of getting so emotionally upset that I ended up in Cedars-Sinai that night, pregnant, scared I was going to lose my baby. It was a nightmare. But the point is, they demoted me because she leaked that I was pregnant, and they didn't want a pregnant woman in the job. They didn't really want women in the job, but we were good at what we did. But it was a man's world for sure. And so I decided not to lose my shit and not to get fired. I decided to figure it out. So I hired a lawyer and I took the demotion, and the man they brought in to replace me, no shock there, turned out to be an absolute prince. He called on all of my clients. I had the Pacific Northwest territory. I have a non-disclosure, so I can't tell you about who I did and who I worked for, what I did and who I worked for. But the point is that after a couple of months, this man came to me and said, I need to speak to you. And I said, oh, in your office, which was my office. And he said, no, in my car. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm 7.5 months pregnant, so I'm feeling pretty safe with this guy. So I waddled out to the parking lot and hopped into his BMW, and he turned to me and he said, Heidi, I have something very important to tell you. And he said, they brought me on board because they told me you weren't servicing your clients, that you weren't doing well in your territory, that your numbers were suffering, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, and I have just spent 2 months combing the Pacific Northwest, and everything they said is completely untrue. I think you should get a lawyer and sue them, and I will testify on your behalf. And I'm quitting today. I was gobsmacked. I could not, this was a $200,000 a year job. I was 28 years old that year. I had a baby and I made $186,000. And I know he got a better package because he was a guy, but he was a man with integrity. It restored my faith in men, as a 20-something woman, having just been through all the things I had been through, to have this man stand up for me and walk away from that kind of a job was amazing. So that was a really great story for me. And then, the baby came, and then another baby a year later. I did sue them, I did win, but I settled out of court. Huge regret of mine. I feel like I let women down. I feel like I didn't stand up where I needed to stand up and speak my voice out into the world about sexual discrimination based on pregnancy in this case. But I acquiesced into this comfortable life of wife and mommy, and then I had a girl. And so I had these 2 darling little boys and then this precious girl, and boy, did I feel guilty. I felt like I let her down. I felt like, I didn't use my voice to stand up for me being wronged. And what led me to, as you know, becoming an author in your book was my Facebook post about my daughter, who was 29 at the time and at a man's world kind of job. They still exist, yes. And she was going up for a big promotion, a promotion that no woman had ever achieved before in her company. And she sent me a text, Mom, send me good vibes to break the glass ceiling. And I thought, what the hell, and of course, she's absolutely a hashtag me too. She's gorgeous. And being in that environment, she should have gone to HR on a number of occasions for the obvious reasons, but she felt it was not in her career's best interest to use her voice about that. And she didn't and doesn't. And that makes me crazy, but that's her journey.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so, I acquiesced into not being the strong vocal woman that I was. My husband had a particular image in mind of how he wanted me to look and dress. He was, he was sort of dropping hints and clues along the way. And one day it was pretty obvious. And I like to wear flouncy things and girly things. And I have curly hair. And he wanted short, straight hair, button down collar, jeans, belt, loafers, like what I call the uniform. And so I went out and got my hair cut and straightened, and I got the ugly clothes, the clothes that weren't me.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I can do this. I can do this. And I did it for a while, for a long while, too long actually. And I started having panic attacks. So silencing my voice actually led to extreme emotional distress, not being who I was and being able to fully show up as myself. And good old anxiety has a best pal named depression. And so that combo while raising children was simply dealt with, excuse me, by a litany of medications, you know, calming the anxiety, helping the depression, the whole seesaw of things that happen with that combination of emotional distress. So I basically drowned my feelings and my voice in pills and Chardonnay. That was how I coped. And I did that for years. And I had the life that every woman ever dreamed of. I had this beautiful family. I had this gorgeous home. I had a barn full of horses, dogs, and cats. And I woke up one morning and I got out of bed and I looked out the window and it was snowing and the horses were playing in the paddock. It was a gorgeous scene. And the thought in my head was, fuck, I have to feed them. And I was just running on fumes. I was literally out of gas. I had nothing left to give to anyone because I had been suffering for so long under this oppression of, and I'm not blaming on this one. I'm taking full credit. I'm taking my responsibility for allowing this to be how I lived. And after I had that thought, my next thought was, I've got to go to rehab. I can't continue on like this.
Mhm.
And so I did. And I chose a really cool one that focused on chakra work and it was specialized in anxiety and depression, which was an incredible gift. But I found that one myself. Long story there. But anyway, and so through the course of 6 weeks leading up to going to rehab, I had to home 5 puppies. I had to pull off Thanksgiving and Christmas, and all the while dosing down off these crazy medications, which I found out after I told my doctor I was going to stop taking them. He said, "Oh, you can't, because if you quit taking this particular one, cold turkey, Klonopin, for anybody that's on that, your heart will stop." And I'm like, "What?" No one ever told me that.
Oh,
They're
wow.
giving me things without any information.
Mhm.
So I got off this cocktail and I went and spent 6 weeks in North Carolina. And I found myself. I found my voice. I found who I was deep inside. They tell you not to make any major changes in the next year when you go home. And
You didn't wait.
I didn't wait. That divorce was happening I moved out of the bedroom 6 weeks after getting home into the guest suite. And then I told him, you've got 6 weeks to figure out whether you want to work on this or not. And if not, we'll take it from there. And those 6 weeks went by and not even a text. So I invited him to dinner and told him I want a divorce. And I walked away from, wealth and freedom and all that stuff. But what I had was me. What I had was the knowingness that I was never going to be somebody to anybody again, that I was only going to live and be fully myself. And it was hard on the family, it was hard on the children, but ultimately, as these things go, things turn out beautifully when you are truthful to honoring your truth. So that's much of it as I think I need to tell. Do you think I missed anything or do you have any questions?
That's awesome, Heidi, and thank you for sharing all that. I have tons of places that we can just kind of dig a little deeper into. So one of the places that really intrigued me about your description was how you felt, what the physical repercussions were of ignoring your pain, ignoring, being misaligned. you weren't getting your needs met. So yeah, and we can get into those situations so easily when, we think, well, we're going to do that for them,
Yeah.
or, it's never about us.
No,
So
keep the
talk,
family together. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So talk a little bit about those physical, the body responses, because I'm not sure that that's something that everybody is really clear about. It's still a little bit woohoo, I'll say. I can
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
that term,
Yeah. Yeah.
that there really is a body response to our emotional state and not having our needs met. I think it's an
Yeah.
important point to make.
You're right. And so my personal experience was at first the mainly the anxiety. So some people lean into depression with periods of anxiety, and I was anxious for years until the depression even actually showed up. So when we stuff our emotions, when we people eat their emotions. One of the things I like to tell people when they're critical of people who are overweight is, I'll use a personal example of, drinking. It's like nobody knows that you got drunk last night because you're a size 8. But if you're walking around in a size 14, everyone knows that you're overeating. But that's emotion. That's what's going on. That's what you're not owning or empowering yourself to be or do. So personally for me, it was the daily dose of showing up as a persona, a Stepford wife. Actually, I was expected to look and behave in a certain way in this crowd that we were a part of, and it was well, we just use today's word, shit ton of white privilege and wealth. And, you know, I didn't have hair like the other ladies. I didn't have, the decorum. I mean, let's just, say that. And,
You just use the word shit ton. I mean, what, like that sounds like
I
decorum
fucking
for
swear like a
me.
sailor, Diana. You know me. And
I'm right
and
there
the night
with you,
that
Heidi.
yeah, and the night that I met my husband, I must have F-bombed 27 and a half times at least. It was a kind of a night. And we were at a group dinner, and I was radically being myself. And why he wanted, I don't even know why he wanted me. But anyway, I know that the gift is, that we have these 3 marvelous children that we share, and we have a wonderfully healed relationship. So that's good too. But it was years of staving off the panic, pulling over the car, putting the pill under my tongue, waiting for it to take effect. Going to these parties, crossing the Golden Gate Bridge and hearing for the 48th time, please don't drop any F-bombs. Please don't, and can I tell kind of an off-color story?
Sure.
Yeah. So we went to this one party and we were all dressed up in ball gowns and tuxedos and so forth. And my little boys had just been in my sister's wedding, and they had tuxedos and they wore little cummerbunds, and cummerbund is not spelled the way that you think it is. And I was writing a little blog piece about it. This is before people were blogging, but it doesn't matter. I was writing about it. And so I'm standing amongst this group of men. My husband was one of them, probably maybe 6 or 7 men. And I'm in my beautiful, ball gown and looking quite elegant. And somehow the tuxedo conversation came up and the cummerbund thing came up. And I said, I'll bet you a blowjob you can't spell cummerbund. And this one guy just rattles it off, C-U-M-M-E-R-B-U-N-D. And I was just like, oh, shit, and his wife was like 9 months pregnant across the room. And I was like, oh my God. And my husband was just mortified. But I ran over to her and I'm like, Janine, I am so sorry. This just happened. She goes, oh, that's shit. He put himself through law school working at a formal shop. So yeah, that was who I really was. And he on the way back over the Golden Gate Bridge was like, really? I'll bet you a blowjob. I'm like, you just came out, the rest of the guys thought it was hilarious. But anyway, so I didn't pay up on the bet, just
just saying,
just to clear that up there. Anyway, so yeah, I was trying to be absolutely someone who I'm not. And the good news is I found someone who loves me exactly the way that I am. Off-color jokes, swearing like a sailor and just being crazy ass me. And I got married at 56, and so for those people who, think the ship has sailed, it doesn't sail. It's just at the dock waiting for you to step aboard, being yourself, being fully who you are all the time, 24/7, unapologetically, standing in your truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? It is about that truth. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. I always find myself doing this because that's the alignment for me. That's where it
Yes.
lives, right? It's kind of, I'm a hand talker, right? So yes, that
Yes.
alignment is right there. And if you connect to it, then your life is very different. And you just open yourself up to so much.
It's like you were hiding,
Yeah.
you were hiding all the best little bits of you,
Yeah.
and they may be, off color or murky or whatever, but they're you, and it's like you got to fly your freak flag.
Yeah.
It's like we're here on this one precious whirl of a life, in this particular body and soul. My soul was that 4-year-old girl that sassed my grandfather. I came into the world her, and and I spent 20 years trying not to be her, and it almost killed me, honestly. That day, that awakening day, it was a no holding back moment for sure. It was like I'm done with this.
Yeah.
This is not who I am.
Yeah.
And so, was it scary? A little bit, but was it so excitingly freeing? Yo, I can't even, the day that I just decided, it was like,
Mm.
I don't need this. I don't need a man. I don't need to be married. I don't need any of it. I just need the freedom to be myself and to not be criticized, when we're under the, all the time and never feeling good enough or doing well enough. It wears us down. It beats us up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Silences us even more. And I think that there's a distinction too between um, when we choose to be ourselves and what that looks like and where we choose to express it and how we express it, right? I mean, we're also individual that, yeah, I mean, I'm a cursor too. It's just the way it is. That's just part of us, right? Which is fine. So do I choose where I use it, where I don't? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah. And so it's all individual. And I think I guess I want to make sure that the listeners are really clear that the point is to be yourself, right? Whatever that looks like, whatever it looks like.
Yes.
That's the goal right there.
Yeah.
What do they say
and
in that movie?
Which movie?
What the Christmas one with the kid. That's the silver tuna, Marv.
Oh,
Home Alone. Home Alone. That's it.
Home Alone. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes,
that's the silver tuna. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, that is exactly it. And yeah, there's a time and a place. We don't swear in front of the children. We don't. I mean, and elderly. I've got filters. I mean, it's you can turn it on and turn it off. It's
Yeah.
it's,
and again, that's our choice, right? That's
absolutely
absolutely yes.
And for and it's not to silence ourselves, it's for everyone's comfort, and there's nothing wrong with that either. That's not, I don't consider that to be people pleasing. I consider that to be selective comfort level adjustment. And yeah, so it's a wonderful way to be in the world as an advocate for other women when we see injustice. When we have that voice, when we've owned it and claimed it, then we get to take it to the next level. And I have a wonderful little story from a couple of weeks ago. I was dining outside with a girlfriend, and there were two elderly gentlemen sitting at the table, socially distanced over there. And we were finishing up our meal. They were finishing up their meal, and the server brought the ticket, and she put it down on the table, and she said, "Will there be anything else this afternoon?" And the one man said, "Yeah, would you sit in my lap?" I threw on my mask. I jumped out of my chair. I crossed the 6 feet. I got 6 feet on the other side of him. And I said, "Did you not get the memo? It's 2021. You don't ask a woman to sit in your lap. What the hell's wrong with you?" And it escalated from there because he was a fighter.
Ah.
But it was 10 minutes of fabulous, raucous entertainment at the restaurant. The server hugged me after the bastard left. And honest to God, I'm going to spare you the gory details, but after it was over, the friend that I was dining with happens to be a millennial. She's 29, and she's like, "Oh my God," because she knows my chapter. She's read the book. She knows all about the thing. She goes, "Okay, I read your chapter. I knew you were a badass. I didn't know you were really a badass."
Yeah, baby, I am.
But this guy got his tail over to his Mercedes Benz faster than you can say Bob's your uncle by the time he knew his sword was not bigger than mine.
Yeah, no kidding. But
So
I love that story because yes, once you start to make your voice as strong as you need it to be, then yes, you get to share it out. You get to support other women. You get to call on guys like that who are inappropriate. Yeah, that's the beauty, right? That's who we are to the world, which is huge. So here's
exactly.
my question though, and that is what's your take on the whole, women become stronger when they get older?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. It's an interesting thing. So I've been thinking a lot about this. The decades, 20s, 30s, 40s, you're coming into your own. But by the time you hit 50, for me at least, it was like kind of an all bets were off decade in that, I mean, as the beauty starts to fade and the exterior, messages that we've been bombarded with our entire lives about, anti-aging, yada, yada, all that crap. It's
Mhm.
like, what do you have? You have you, your essence, what's inside of you, your power, your strength, your brilliance. You have the love that you can give to your friends and children and family members and anyone. I'll give love to someone on the street. I'll give a homeless person a hug and $5, but that's what's important. It's being absolutely fully in touch with your being, your essence, and owning your true personality and taking that baby out for a walk every single day of your life. It doesn't um I think all the social constructs kind of don't make sense anymore. It's like, I'm never going to be a blonde with long legs, so why don't I just be this crazy goofball,
Yeah.
because that's who I am.
Why don't you
You
just
know
be
what I mean?
yourself? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I have as each, this is the 60s, I'll be 62 in June, and as each decade comes along, I have a special way of embracing it. And for my 60th, I actually created a Facebook page called Savvy Sexy Living.
Mm.
And it's about like like here we go, and it's like it's the third act. I hope to see 90, 95 would be cool, 100 would be great, but that's a long time of getting to be yourself.
Yeah.
That could ultimately end up being the best half of my life,
Yeah.
just walking around being authentic all the damn time.
Yeah.
And it's a gift to recognize that it's freedom, and it's a privilege to be able to exercise freedom. Not all women have this privilege, that I personally have, being an American, being in California, planet California. Talk about woo woo, I could go on and on. But the point is, being able to embrace everything that comes around the corner in a way that it fits you. and you not trying to fit it. And that's where I think it gets really cool.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there is something about, I didn't believe it for years. I have to cop to that, Heidi. I didn't believe it. You know, I would see older women and they would, you know, make comments about, oh, I just don't give a shit anymore. And I, and I think, you know, is that really true? Like, I'm not sure, but that's where I am. I mean, that's, you know, I'm with you in terms of age. So, you know, to be able to have that freedom and to really, you know that no matter what the reaction is or the response from somebody else, you're still you. And,
Yeah.
you know, putting out what is there is hugely empowering for you and everybody else around you.
Yes. And one of my favorites is, what other people think of me is none of my business.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that it's like all that stuff just rolls right off. It's just like, don't care.
Yeah.
And I saw a funny birthday card. It was an age and fucks given graph. And it was like, the older you get, the less fucks you get.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah. Wonder what life is going to look like when we're 90.
I think it's going to be rocking. And it could literally be rocking in a chair, and that's okay. But
very
no,
cool.
well, you know, there's just going to be more, you know, and I think we're on this verge of seeing, I mean, all these women, at least in this country and, you know, other countries around the world, New Zealand, I mean, we could list them all off. Women in power, like women, you know, being in places where their voices are being heard, you know, women who are changing the face of the way women are regarded on every level, intellect. And yeah, you can be a young, beautiful millennial waitress and become a congresswoman, you know, and you can speak out for the world. And that never would have happened when I was a little girl. And the one thing I'm pissed off about, and I hope they rewrite this history, is I needed to know what women put men on the moon. I needed to know all of those things when I was a girl in school. Every girl in school. My daughter didn't even learn about that. What the hell, you know? But that's changing. And all these stories are coming out, and all these women are being honored and shown for their brilliance and what they endured, you know, the loss of dignity and you know, the what they had to go through. But they stood strong. They kept going. They persevered in silence, I'm sad to say. But now their voices are being echoed across the internet, you know, which is, you know, the great educator, you know, the big school out there. You can learn anything about anybody, you know. And I was awed to learn the other day that Hawaiian women royalty goddess priestesses were hot surfers going back to the 1400s and before. Can you imagine?
No.
Yeah. There's an article on my Facebook feed. Check it out.
Cool.
And one of my girlfriends is a direct descendant of one of those women.
Oh, cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, my best friend from high school is Hawaiian. But yeah, so like, who knew that? You know?
Yeah.
I grew up on the beaches of Southern California with the dudes and surfboards. It never once occurred to me to learn how to ride one. But I did when I was 46 with my surfer husband. Well, he's my boyfriend then. But I did. I learned to surf at 46.
Excellent. Yeah. Never too late, right? And it's never too late to align yourself, right? It's not.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself.
Yeah.
When you do that, align yourself. That's the word.
Right. So I think I know the answer to this, but tell us a little about your coaching practice relative to your story.
Oh, okay. So I'm a woman's coach, obviously woman, and I'm an author, thanks to Dianna, Leeder, and unapologetically outspoken. That's my kind of my tagline there. And I'm coaching women now. I know, it's so cool. I'm coaching women now, women later in life who have either through divorce or becoming widowed or, you know, whatever the circumstances, you know, behind that are slowly opening up and remembering who they are, who they were, what their essence was, what they felt and what they stood for. And the most important piece is letting them know that like the time is now. Don't look back at what you could have done when you were 30 or 40 or 25 or whatever number, because all we have is this day.
Yeah.
And we take this day and we make something out of it, and then we get up tomorrow and we do the same thing.
Do the same thing. Yeah.
And we just
Love
decide each day to do that. And so I'm taking women on this journey of, how to reclaim and embody their actual, natural, truthful essence.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it.
It is.
I love
it's
it.
great work. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Super. So I have one last question for you, my friend.
Yes.
And that is, and I ask everybody this question. So tell us what, and I know you're not going to struggle with this one. Some people do, but I know you won't. So tell us one thing about yourself, either funny or fun, that you don't normally share.
Oh, well, I might struggle a little bit. Funny or fun about myself that I don't normally share. Well, I share it. I share it not a lot. Well, okay, I'll share it. It's fun. So
I love you.
I love you too. So when I was 41 years old, I entered the demolition derby at the Teton County Fair. A demolition derby is where you jump behind the wheel of a giant car. In this case, it was a 1976 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. And you intentionally crash into people. And the last car standing is a winner take all. There's trophies and monies and lots of local notoriety. Small town, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So I jumped into a car on July 29th of 2000, and I wiped out 13 women in the women's round, and then I wiped out 41 men in the men's round. Last car standing. And I jumped out of my car and up onto the hood, and they handed me 2 giant trophies because I won the women's and the men's, and they were taller than me. They're plastic, thank God. And I held them up over my head, and I was on the front page of the newspaper. and I had my 15 minutes of fame. But my children, we had just moved there that summer from California, and so they got on the bus. My son's the first day to middle school, and kids were like, "Who are you? Where are you from?" And they're like, "Oh my God, did your mom win the demo derby?" So the kids came home and they're like, "Thanks, Mom." So that's one of my wild stories.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I love that. Oh man, this is so fun. Oh, Heidi, this has been great. It's been so great. I knew that I'd have some laughs with you for sure. So I just want to remind everybody that the way to contact Heidi will be in the comments. We'll put it in as soon as the recording is finished, and mine will be there as well. And that, let me just pull this pretty little guy up, girl up, sorry. Yes, there we go. So Find Your Voice, Save Your Life 2 is in the works. So if anybody's interested in being part of that, if you have a story to tell, then this is the place to tell it. So thank you so much. If you don't want to tell your story publicly, write it down for yourself. Yes, 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 absolutely. That's how it starts. Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much, Heidi. It's been a pleasure. You, Dianna. I wish we were at like each other's place somehow, but someday, right? I know we will. Well, we said that, right? When COVID is all over, we'll all hook up as a group. That'd be tons of fun. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sweetheart. Thank you so much. And thank listeners, you, Dianna. Oh, you're very welcome. And listeners, thank you for showing up. And you know what I always say, and that is that just by showing up, you're kicking your own ass. So thank you. Take care, hon. Bye, love. If you like today's podcast, hit subscribe at the bottom on your way out, and come find me at cravemorelife.com for even more DIY ass kicking.